Hello, friends. Today I'm speaking with Wendy Shafranski. She's a friend, a Unicorn Society member, and fitness business badass. She spent 12 years working in corporate marketing before she opened Vero Strength and Conditioning in Vero Beach, Florida in 2009. One of Wendy's absolute superpowers that I've got to see up close and personal over this last year since we've known each other is her ability to just get shit done. She has a wonderful way of holding herself accountable and doing exactly what she said she's going to do. And so we talk about that as her superpower. We talk about how she's used this last year of COVID as a reset for her business and making changes that were, in some cases, overdue, according to her. And we also talk about designing the client experience, about how to organize the business and standard operating procedures or SOPs. We cover a lot of topics in this, but Wendy is a fantastic owner operator of a gym. And so if you're looking for a role model or peer role models, Wendy is one of them. She's real inspiration. I think you'll love this conversation. Come with your notepad ready because she gives a lot of tips and tricks and advice that I think is really, really valuable. So enjoy this conversation with Wendy Shafranski. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. Today, I'm really excited because I'm talking to a Unicorn Society member, Wendy Shafranski. We were joking just before we recorded that I should pronounce it Shafranski, so I had to say that out loud because she's fancy. She's fancy, just like me. So I don't have anything more to say about Wendy other than I'm obsessed with her. Haven't been working together, I think, for much more than maybe a year. And she's just been an incredible addition to Unicorn Society. I look forward to every moment we get to spend together. So I said, we need to do a podcast. So here we are, friends. Let's welcome to our virtual stage, Wendy. Hello, my friend.
Hey, Michael.
Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited we get the chance to just kind of connect without the need for a coaching conversation or
Exactly,
and
yep.
no spreadsheets today. And so
we're talking Dolly Parton today then?
Yeah, exactly. We should just talk about Dolly Parton. We should talk about beaches you love in Florida.
Okay.
That's what we should do. We'll leave that for the end.
Okay.
But thanks for doing this. I mean, as people just heard, you have, you run a gym down in Florida. And I know, there's some people joking around that COVID never existed in Florida, or at least some people acted like it never existed in Florida. But I know that you've used this as a real opportunity to kind of as a big reset for your company. So I thought we'd start just by talking about that. So how has this last year of COVID acted like a kind of a reset moment for you and your business?
Yeah. Well, we were shut down for 2 months entirely. So, and not knowing how long that was going to be was a little bit scary. Like everyone, we had to pivot. I hate that word pivot by now. Everybody's saying it, but, to doing virtual training. So we had to be locked down. We basically loaned all of our equipment out to our members and created different tracks. We do group resistance training, so it isn't the best environment for Zoom. So we, said we're going to really trust that we've trained our members well, and we would do, daily briefing videos and demos and check in with people, and so that reset strengthened a lot of relationships within the gym. I think people got a lot closer to their coach member relationship. And then I just had time to sit back and say, how could we make the gym better when we get back? So I could completely relate to your conversation with Mike Boyle when he said, we didn't have anybody sign up. I mean, they could be on a 3-day-a-week membership and come in as much as and we kind of were like that. So we just launched all these different things that helps the gym run smoother, from cleaning protocols to just, class signups to client check-ins, and just had to get creative on how to have a little more fun since we aren't doing events outside of the gym. But I do believe that we are a stronger and better organization today than we were a year ago.
Yeah, good for you. I think, that's, there's clearly some terrible things that have happened as a result of COVID over this last year. But I'm also hearing a lot of amazing things like this, that, people like you as business owners, we rarely get a moment to step back and get some perspective on our business. So being shut down, while it totally sucked, if you're able to make it through, it is this moment of reflection and pause to say, what can I do better? How can we regroup and do something differently? And so maybe a little bit later, we'll circle back and talk about some of those systems that you put in place. But how are you doing right now in terms of getting people back in the building and getting back to some new normal?
Yeah, I mean, we're busier. We have more members than we ever have. So
Wow.
that's, pretty much all the old members came back. We've got new members. And around the time of COVID is when I learned about Unicorn Society and joined on. And so I took that time to do a lot of the business tune-ups and all your little,
Yep.
coaching modules. And, just took a good look at who's our client avatar. Are we, who do we like to work with? Who thrives in the gym? Are we really talking to them in our marketing? And, and so that was huge, just to redefine that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing to do during a reset. It's just reconnect with who do we serve?
Mm-hmm.
How do we serve them? What are the problems we're solving for them? And how do we, speak consistently to that avatar? So I'm glad you do that work. That's amazing. Cool. So we can keep talking about COVID, but I'm going to pivot because, I've been talking about COVID a lot in these podcasts, and I'm frankly just ready to talk about other things. But the thing, I don't want to not talk about it at all because it's still so important, and there's some people still really recovering. There's people around the country who are still locked down, but I'm also exhausted, like so many people from talking about it. But let's talk about this, because one of many reasons I was so excited to have you on this podcast is that you're maybe one of the best people I've ever worked with in terms of getting shit done. I don't know what it is, but I know it's one of your superpowers. I mean, literally, I've been coaching people for 6 or 8 years now as pretty much my full-time job. And you might be, and I think, I don't know if I ever told you this before, but I'm going to give you a gold medal for it. You might be maybe the only coaching client I've ever worked with who I'm pretty sure every time I get on the phone, you have finished every action step that we came up with on the previous call, with like basically no exceptions that I can remember. And I don't know if you know how rare that is. And this is not to talk shit about all the other people I've worked with. If you're listening, I love you. You're perfect. Most people are like y'all, where you don't finish all the things you said you were going to do. Right. Wendy has this unique superpower to actually do all the things that she sets up to do, at least in our conversations. And that might be not true in the rest of your life, and that would be okay. But I just talk to me a little bit about, how do you approach getting shit done? How are you so good at it?
I think I've always been this way. I was the nerd in college that would have the paper done a week ahead of the deadline. And I don't think I've ever crammed for an exam. But I do have kind of my own little system going on. I like paper calendars where I see what's going on, and then my phone, and I just constantly review, like on a Sunday, what does my week look like? On a Monday, what does my Tuesday look like? Make sure everything's synced up. And I like to-do lists. I have a to-do list, and it's kind of segmented in those, okay, these are ongoing things. Like I've, got to schedule Hootsuite every week, or load workouts into the app, or, the things that happen every week are there. And then I've got, the stuff, all the other stuff that's going on. Things are highlighted if they're important. And then if it gets really clunky, I take an index card. I write the day of the week it is, and the stuff that absolutely has to get done, and without question. And I don't know, I'm not a procrastinator, so I just get it done. And I also realize that even in the stuff you don't want to do, getting it done is there's such a satisfaction to it, even if it's negotiating your utility bill or whatever, just that crap.
Wow, you picked the least sexy thing. That was a good example. No one wants to do that.
I did it recently. But yeah, so it's just a matter of just kind of not making excuses and prioritizing and rewriting, and just always having it in your face. I mean, I even have our quarterly and yearly goals on my cork board right by my desk, and I'm looking at them all the time and asking myself, am I doing everything I can to work towards them? So it's just, and it helps. I don't coach really anymore. I just fill in every once in a while.
Sure.
So I know that, our counterparts that have to coach, and they're in front of people, and then they have to get all that stuff done. That's super challenging, because coaching can be exhausting.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's a great distinction to make, is that some people are just juggling more diversity of roles, but still, I don't want to take anything away from the fact that you're uniquely good at that. And what I love about what you shared is that system that you talked about, having some clear goals, annual goals, quarterly goals written up on a board, having a really clear to-do list that you actually look at on a regular basis, having a clear relationship to your calendar, both printed or on your phone, that you touch base on Sundays, that you look at every day. That is a simple ass system. right? That
Yeah.
is not complicated. Anyone that's listening or watching can implement that. And your unique power is not in doing this, but it's the fact that you actually consistently use the system on a regular basis. That's where I see so many people fall down, because, we have a Time Ninja course that we've taught to, I don't know, hundreds of people at this point. And where I see them fail is not that they don't have a system, it's that they don't use it consistently. So what are your cues and reminders to like consistently engage with this system, to actually look at your to-do list, to actually be reminded? I mean, so you mentioned a few, like visually putting the things in your space,
Right.
but what else do you do if you find yourself straying from this process?
I don't necessarily stray from the process. I mean, it's in my face all the time. But if there's something that I do feel like, all right, I'm putting this off, I just kind of get real with myself and just say, get this shit done. You want it all. I just like checking things off and knowing it's taken care of. I guess it's probably some sort of psychological thing within me, but
I know we need to have a guest therapist I can call once in a while for the podcast and like, hey, therapist, go figure this out for us. But I mean, what's great about that is that I'll say it this way, which is I feel like you have a really powerful story about yourself, about your identity, that you even said it very, very confidently a few minutes ago, which is, I am just not a procrastinator. And I feel like there's some power in that story, that the way you think about yourself is like, listen, I'm not a procrastinator. I'm just someone who checks boxes and gets it done. When it's not fun, when it's not easy, when I don't feel like doing it, I do it anyway, because I know there's satisfaction on the other end. And I said I was going to do it. So there's like a personal integrity piece that's really important. And I think that that's like maybe an underestimated ingredient in this recipe, right, of getting shit done, is like believing you're someone who gets shit done, like talking about yourself in a way that says like, I'm a doer. I'm not a procrastinator. Right. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like that's a part of your identity that's been around for a while.
Yeah. I think the downside to that, though, is I have a problem delegating, because I'll get it done. I'll be the first one to get it done. And a lot of times I don't even wait for somebody to finish something. More so, I think, probably in my personal life, but shove Rob on the podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, so I have really had to get outside that comfort zone and just trust that people will do things.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah. So say more about what makes delegating so hard for someone like you.
I guess I don't like to wait for the person. Maybe there's something in me that thinks, I'll just get it done better, which is kind of egotistical, I guess. But I have let go quite a bit. And I think just really being impressed with some of the ideas and the way people go about things that are different than I do on my team has made that process easier.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a kid, and when I was little, I didn't want my parents doing anything for me either. So, I mean, I think it's just ingrained.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. But you also mentioned the way you said it, though, reminded me that there's a real catch-22 when it comes to delegating, if that's the right analogy, which is when you're first delegating something to someone. I'll say it again. When you're first delegating something to someone, it does take longer. Right. It does actually take more time invested. And often they're not going to be as good at it. Right? And so there's a constant kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a cycle we can put ourselves through to say, well, I can't delegate because it's going to take too long and they're not going to be good as me. And so we'll just never delegate because those factors will always be true. Right. Delegating only pays off in the long term, or like the medium term at best. In the short term, it's more work, done less poorly. It takes longer for the most part.
But I think a lot of times I wasn't communicating well either. So I've had to learn this. Instead of saying, I want this task done, maybe I needed to talk about the steps and the deadlines to get there and then pass it off. So I'm learning that too.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great lesson. I mean, that's a great lesson. And you also mentioned a phrase before, which is just kind of letting go. I feel like that's a big part of it for folks who like getting things done, like being able to get it done quickly. Just kind of letting go of, you know what, it's going to take a little longer. That's okay. I'm going to get really clear about what the task is, set some deadlines, milestone, provide training, provide support. It'll take a little while, but someday, in the not so distant future, I'll be able to forget about that and never do it again because I'll trust this person's got it. And there's such a good payoff, but it can be a long, windy road to delegating.
Yeah.
Can you think of something you've delegated recently that's really paid off for you?
Yeah, we do little, it's kind of tied to the client experience conversation, but we do little events in the gym, challenges that,
Mm,
we've done everything from a limbo contest to a putting contest, a free throw, and all kinds of stuff, it's been a lot of fun. And we always have, I was taking on doing the flyers, doing the promotion of it, finding the prize, that
mm,
sort of thing. So I delegated it to another one of our coaches who's super creative, and basically just said, go run with it, thinking that she knows what's in my head. So the first one was a little clunky, gave her feedback. Now she's on number 3, and I actually just before this sent her an email of like, here's the expectations, and here are your deadlines, and I know
mm.
she'll get it done, and I
Yeah.
didn't just assume that she knows what's going on in my head.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's, oftentimes when we talk about this, we talk about making your expectations that are implicit explicit, right? You have to say out loud all the things that are in your head if you want
Mm-hmm.
to teach people how to think like you, right? And
Right.
that's often our job as business owners, is like get people to think in the direction, at least, that we're thinking in, to get the
Mm-hmm.
outcomes that we expect. And so good for you. That's amazing. Because, and we'll circle back to the thing you're doing for a client for a second, but as an example of delegating, that's really awesome. Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing I've learned, I'll share just from my experiences, I'm often so delightfully surprised at how people, once they do take ownership of a task that I once did, how much better they can be at it than me.
Right.
you
And
know?
just bring a little different extra something to the project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yep.
And that's such a great thing to uncover. Yeah. Well, let's switch gears. Let's actually talk about client experience.
Okay.
And this is something you talked about. I know when we first started working together, how long was it? It was maybe almost a year
It's about a
ago.
year. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, it was
Mm-hmm.
July, right?
Yep.
Yeah. One of the things you said to me early on that you wanted to work on, and I know you have, is that you felt like, your gym was a little too serious sometimes,
Yes.
right? That
Yes. Yeah.
you all were just like real serious about the fitness, real serious about the science.
Uh-huh.
You've got a lot of nerds on your team. And this, I say that
Mm-hmm.
lovingly, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that a lot of nerds on your team, and you've really kind of worked on trying to like lighten up the vibe, lighten up the culture. So talk to us a little bit about like, what have you done to try to kind of not walk away from your serious fitnessness, right? You're
Right.
still fitness nerds. What have you done to try and kind of lighten up the culture and help people connect on a more social level?
Okay. Well, in our, gosh, it was about a year ago when I put out our client survey. One of the questions was basically click all of these words that you associate with Vero's strength and
Mm,
conditioning, and it was all of our values, so we could see if we're actually living our values. One of them was fun, and it ranked so low. And like, if someone in my life told me I wasn't fun, I would be devastated, So I was like, it really bothered me. So first step was just communicating it to the team, and and talking it out. Like you said, we've got all, the head coaches of our gym are very, very serious, and and even their real personalities are kind of on the serious side too, but we have some that are not.
yeah,
So it was just making them aware, and nobody wants to be seen as not fun.
of course.
And we did a lot of events pre-COVID outside of the gym, and so then we had to bring it into the gym. And like I said, now we're doing these challenges every other month, and we do a music theme now. And we had one today. It was Michael Jackson,
Nice.
and so you play a genre or an artist all day, and people get really into dressing. We even today we have a slide board, and it's for moonwalking. And like last one was, gosh, I think it was country, and I don't like country music, but I dressed up like it anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, that's been really great, and people look forward to it, and it's on our Instagram, and even people that are outside of our gym are like, wow, you guys are so much fun. So just little things like that. Giving people shout outs more often for doing great things in the gym, and just trying to lighten it up. You can still get a great workout and be silly and
Yeah. I mean, that's great. There's so many great ideas there. One is that survey about values, I think, is gold, right? If listeners and viewers go steal that and do that right away, right? Don't tell them it's your values. Just say, hey, rank these words or these concepts in order that you think of us in, and you'll see if fun is at the bottom, they think you're not fun.
Right.
Right? Which it's so good that you noticed that and were able to do something about it, right? Because I said a lot of people send out surveys and don't do crap about it. But I mean, that's huge. And the fact that you've done all kinds of events and ways people connect is so fantastic. So what kind of response have you gotten from clients? What's the impact of these kinds of events?
Well, we did, after we implemented these ideas, we did another survey 6 months later, and fun was ranked, I think, second overall.
Wow.
So, yeah. So it had to have been all the.
That's pretty huge. Yeah, that's pretty huge. I mean, and what a great way to measure your ROI. It's just like, okay, do the survey again. Did it change? Fantastic. What's the impact been on your team?
I think, I mean, I don't see a huge impact. I mean, they are fun people. I think, some of them participate a little more than others, but it's around them and they're having a good time and laughing. So even if it's, someone that's not necessarily really, outgoing, it brings it out in them. So we do talk about the events, we plan them, and, nobody ever says they don't want to do it. Everybody gets excited about it and has input on what the next thing should be. So I think it's been positive.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'll say this, and I don't have any data about this. This is just my feelings. So take it for what it's worth. But, obviously MFF is a very fun place. At least most people think so. Not everyone would vote for that yet. But I would say that one of the greatest impacts of doing things that are fun and playful and spontaneous and social, everything in that bucket, is I do think it does help retention. I think people stay longer. And I've heard so many anecdotes, and this might ring true for you as well, of people who said they stayed around because they just would miss the place. It was such a fun moment of their day. They'd miss hanging out with people and the friendships and the sense of community. And all of that has almost nothing to do with the fitness, right? And I'm not downplaying the importance of having good programming, good coaching, all that. It's important. And I'm sure there's a lot of people who stay for that. But I've heard many more stories about people staying for the fun and the community and the spontaneity and the theme days and the, And so my hunch is, if we were to do some research on this, that there'd actually be some real correlation to retention. So I'm just curious if you noticed that over time.
Yeah, our retention's been really good. I mean, our churn rate's pretty low. I think it's around 3% a month.
It's amazing.
Like I said, we're growing every month, so people are sticking around. So I would have to say that, and I think it makes you more approachable too. Gyms are scary for people. New gyms, and just walking through a new gym for the first time can be super intimidating for someone. But if they've seen your Instagram stories and your announcements that we're doing this or that, it probably helps ease that we're just serious about training type of thing.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's huge. Well, let's talk about this, because this is related but different, which is another thing I know you've been working on for a while, is creating really robust systems in your business, more SOPs, more processes, procedures, checklisty kind of things. And so just maybe talk about, like one system that you've worked on recently and the kind of difference it's made in your business. And I'll say that the reason I'm asking about this, because you've heard me say this a million times, but we all want businesses that are run by processes and systems, not people, right? And so the reason I think this is so important is because we want consistency in the operations. We want people to be replaceable, including ourselves, and that requires good systems. So maybe just talk a little bit about a system you've worked on recently and how it's gone.
We developed a client check-in system. It kind of was inspired, during COVID when we were shut down, we segmented our membership into, different lists, and a coach would reach out to these members at least once a week, check in as a human being. And, not only how's your training going, do you need help, but how's everything else going? So, even when we came back, we said we need to replicate that. And at first, gave everybody their list, but I wasn't quite sure it was happening or if it was effective. So we just made it a little more strategic. So everybody's got their spreadsheet. They have, their main list is into 4 different sub lists. And on any given week, they go, do that sub list so that someone's getting an actual text or email once a month that said, hey, I'm here for you. What do you want to talk about? What do you need? Type of thing. so that helped me because I knew it was getting done. And then we always talk about, any issues that come up, anybody that needs our help, that sort of thing. Attendance has been better because of it, I believe. But we're actually going to be going through kind of a revamp of that lately as well. So, you get the people that don't respond. They're maybe better face to face. So, we're going to have a 2.0. We're working on a 2.0 of that, but it is a system that's been really good instead of just kind of leaving it up to, all right, here's all your clients. Make sure you check in with them once a month. It's, and then my coaches send me a weekly update of issues, who they checked in with, how classes are going, how their personals are going, just all that stuff. And that's always included.
Yeah. Well, I think already, I know you're going to work on a 2.0, but already that 1.0 has so many great things working for it. One is it's clear expectations. Like, here's your list. Here's how the list is organized. Here's how you reach out to people. And I love the expectation that the check-in is not just how your workout's going, but also like, how's life? Are you back to work yet? Are the kids in school? Like, what's going on with you? And you do that obviously to the extent to which your clients are interested in that kind of relationship. But also, most of them want you to care. That's how we show we care. And I also love your tip here, which is when you have a system like this, have the system include your team reporting back to you instead of you having to hunt down your team. Right? That's so often I hear it's like, we launched this system and I have no idea how it's going. It's like, well, every part of every system should be a step that is kind of, it audits itself, right? It is self-sustaining. And so ideally the team reports to you, like you said, with a weekly report of here's who I reached out to, here are the issues that came up, here's who responded, who didn't, which is great. So tell me more about what are the issues you're seeing that are requiring a 2.0?
I think a lot of it, well, one is when people, some people are not going to respond to an email or text.
Most of these check-ins are email and text right now. Is that right?
Yes. If they see the person face to face in a class, that counts as well.
Sure.
But we're finding that that the face to face is the most effective. So I think moving forward, our customer service, I have a virtual assistant. He's going to be the one that checks in with people if they haven't been in a week, just with, a basic email checking in. Is everything going okay? We haven't seen you in a week. But the coaches are more going to connect with the people they see face to face. So right now they may have people do a series of personal training before they are released into group classes. And so usually the coach that does that personal training will be assigned to the person. But then when the person comes into the gym, they only go to a class and they never see their coach. So now it's more like, these are your little ecosystems and these are your people, and you're going to, follow up face to face. My husband, Rob, does it really well. And he's constantly sending people podcasts based on a conversation that they had, or, just giving some real value to them. So we talked about it at our Monday morning meeting this morning about how we want to change it. So we're in that kind of brainstorming phase. And that's going to, be improved soon. But it has helped, I believe, with retention. And just strengthen those relationships and revenue as well, because then someone says, I'm really struggling on pull-ups, and then the coach says, well, how about we do a personal, and we come up with some personalized programming of extra work you can do in addition to class to get your first strict pull-up. So they have the opportunity to make a little more money. Benefits the gym as well, and then people start working towards their goals. So it's good for everybody.
Yeah, good for you. I just want to applaud you for keeping an eye on a new system like this and recognizing that there's opportunity for it to continue to get better. It's so important. And I think the distinction you're making here between the value of face-to-face connection and following up with people who are just MIA, there really are two different things. And so I think, separating those out seems to make sense. So yeah, good for you. I think that's really awesome. And you're right that these check-ins add value to the client experience, but they also add value to the business, right? There's a chance to upsell people. There's a chance to ask for referrals, right? These conversations can lead to all kinds of things, certainly a deepening of the relationship and kind of trust and loyalty and all that, but also just like more money. And so that's awesome. Yeah. Good for you. Cool. Let's talk about this. I know, another thing that you and Rob, I know, think about a lot is just how you both show up as leaders for your team. And, certainly while he's on the floor working on the floor every day, you're a little bit more kind of back of house these days. You just want
Mhm.
to talk to me a little bit about how do you both think about leadership? How do you think about, leading by example in your gym?
Leading by example, I think part of that is doing doing anything you expect your team to do.
Yeah.
So I walk in and I see an area needs to be vacuumed, but I'll pick up the vacuum cleaner and do it, and just I
Yeah.
think that's leading by example. He is good at asking for feedback and ideas from coaches and really brainstorming, our next training phase or things we want to test out that we might bring to class. I like to be the type of leader that always wants you to know that I have your back. So, um, one guy, or one of our main coaches is really, I saw on Instagram, he's trying to create a personal brand. So I said, hey, do you want to meet? And I can help you do that. We can shoot video. We can come up with a content calendar. I don't want to micromanage anybody. But I want them to know that I'm watching and that I'm always there to support, and it's always an open door. So in my monthly one-on-ones with everybody, I always really try to drive that point home and just let them know that I'm kind of like their work mom, that I'm there
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. No, I think that's a great combination with someone like you who's keeping an eye out and proactively, it sounds like, looking for opportunities to support people, right? Just saying,
Hmm.
what are they working on? What does it look like they're struggling with? Can I celebrate them? Can I support them? I think that's fantastic. And that coupled with Rob's approach, which seems to be like, how do I include them, right? How do I get their
Hmm.
opinions, get their feedback? I mean, that's a real kind of 1-2 punch when it comes to kind of supporting your team. What about,
Yeah.
go ahead.
I was going to say I'm big on kind of like that praising in public as
Mhm.
well. We have on our Slack app, we have a channel called Making Magic, and that's typically somebody does something great in the gym, PR, or maybe becomes a grandma, whatever. That
Mhm.
coach puts it in Making Magic, so I can respond to that, send a gift, do a shout out on Facebook, whatever. But now I've also been using it to just shout out the coaches because they all see it. Got this comment about Michaela, great job. Or, lately people have even been getting note cards from clients,
Mhm.
individual coaches, and that, I'll send a picture of that or give them a shout out for that. So I think being a leader too is always praising and keeping them motivated.
Yeah, I mean, those are such great tips, and those are things that I know many of our listeners and viewers, we know, but have just not developed the systems for. Like, we know
Hmm.
we should be praising, more than we should be criticizing. Often a 5-to-1 ratio would be ideal of, 5 times as much praise as criticism. But often what they're missing are the processes and systems you're talking about here, which is like, yeah, we have a Slack channel for it. Every time it's in the Slack channel, right, I
Hmm.
get to shout it out and tell them in person. I get to send gifts. I get to celebrate them publicly. I get to, that kind of thing, I think, really helps systemize the praise, right?
Hmm.
It's just so
Yes.
valuable. Yeah, good
Hmm.
for you. Cool. Well, I know I'm going to try and keep this, a relatively short one today because I want to respect both of our times. But I want to ask one more question. I think we've one topic time for one more topic, which is overall kind of how do I want to phrase this? Kind of overall kind of organization, right? That's how do you kind of organize all the different functions and tasks and things. So this is kind of like what I'm trying to ask about is many businesses have lots of processes and SOPs and things like that. But how do you organize them all so people know how to find it, how to get their questions answered? It's kind of like a meta question of like not just how you do individual tasks, but how do you organize your whole business so that everyone's clear on how it all fits together? Does that question make sense?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, one, I'm working on improving that.
Yeah.
I keep everything in a Google Drive and
Hmm.
share out. And we have a coach message board where programming goes up, little announcements go up, all that kind of thing, to really communicate to them as well. Because we have some part timers that aren't on Slack because they're not there a whole lot, so they're all on the message board.
Yep.
Um, it's just, I think launching little initiatives, meeting about it, having a big quarterly meeting that's, several hours that, making presentations. I've done some role playing lately with sales scripts and things like that. I'm going to do that with asking for referrals next. That's on my next to do. I guess I probably over communicate. I don't think there's really such a thing. But yeah, I'm someone where, it needs to be said several times, in person, online, email, whatever. I guess I just communicate. Does that answer your question?
No, you really did. And to be fair, it wasn't the best question, but you actually got exactly to what I was curious about, which is, I see people make, for example, like an SOP for, opening up their space. And then it's kind of like fades away in people's mind and memory, right? They don't know where to go find it again. It's never brought up again. And the thing that you answered so beautifully that I think is really useful is part of our job as leaders is to continuously bring up the things that matter most and train people with training sessions, presentations, role plays, team meetings, plan meetings, right? Exercises, workshops, all those things. That's our job as leaders. And what we're doing there is reminding people constantly, this is how we do things around here. This is how this process works. This is how this process works. Here's a process we don't have a process for yet. Right? Here's a thing we don't have a process for yet. We're working on it. We want your feedback on this process. And I think there's, as you mentioned, there's so many ways to do that. And I talked to so many people who are just not doing it at all. But I think you're right. You probably can't do it too much, right? Probably, unless you're maybe, maybe the too much looks like having your team spend too much time in meetings all the time, right? That would be an example of probably overkill.
Right.
But you probably can't.
I think also people learn in different ways.
Yeah.
So, you may have a new process that's very simple and you could email it to most people will get it, read it, done, good. But then I think you also need to present it because some people are more visual. I'd rather read something. I like when manuals are written, but my husband will look up a YouTube video and sit there and watch it. And I don't like doing that. So, you got to kind of play for everyone as well and to really get your point across.
Yeah, that's a great point, Wendy. In fact, I'm like your husband. I'm such a visual learner. It's like, give me a written thing about it. Like I'll read it. I'll probably do okay. But if you gave me like a graph or a picture or a video, I would do much better. Yeah. So I think it's another great point is that when you're creating systems in the business, that training them just one way, just one time is never going to be enough. You got to train them multiple times in multiple ways to reach different learning styles and personality styles and all that. And I think, you really got to the heart of my question that I could barely ask. So thank you.
I got you.
You nailed it. And so let's switch gears. Let's do our final 5 questions. Let's kind of start to wrap this up here because there's a few of these we might want to dig into for a little bit. But these are final questions I ask every guest. They're meant to be kind of rapid fire, but you can take your time. And these are questions just about you and your life as a gym owner. So let's do this. Question number 1, Wendy, what is just one thing that you love about being a gym owner?
I love connecting people. I'm the type of person that if a new person's at the gym and you're from Ohio, this person from Ohio, you guys have to meet, that sort of thing. And then over time you realize, wow, those people just went on vacation together. They went to their, a wedding, they got invited to their wedding or whatever, like just having a place that people can get together and meet people they never would have met before and forge these awesome relationships makes me so happy.
Yeah, that's a great example. It's, we sometimes it's easy for us to forget working on our business all the time that our business is a real communal space, right? It really can be a community hub. I mean, not just people who go to your gym, but people in your neighborhood, And so, you're an ultimate connector. Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Question number 2 is, Wendy, this is about kind of customer service. What's one of the coolest or maybe most memorable things you remember doing to kind of over deliver for a client?
Okay, I think this will fit in here. We had a young couple that met at the gym and started dating.
Wow.
And we were having a Christmas party, big Christmas party at the gym. And he told me he wanted to propose to her. So we devised this game and she was of course going to be the winner. Yep. We had an enormous box and he was inside of it. So I snuck him in there and then he proposed to her in front of everyone. So that was kind of like the coolest
Wow.
thing I've done for a customer. They're still together. They've got 2 kids now,
What?
So
That's
yeah.
amazing. That's so great to be able to propose in the place where you met and then jump out of a giant box.
Yes.
That's amazing. It's so funny. I think we have some proposal and wedding stories at MFF as well.
Oh, really?
It's so nice.
It's awesome.
That's great. Cool. Question number 3. This is about your team. When someone on your team does this, it makes you super happy. So when you see your team do this action, this behavior, what is it that makes you just lights you up?
Lately, we've been kind of hammering them about being a problem solver versus a problem identifier. So I guess when they just go beyond just saying, hey, we need this broke, whatever, and they figure it out, and that makes me super happy.
Yeah, 100%.
No matter how small it is, it makes me happy.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is by far, it's become the runaway number one answer to this question.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you're somewhere in that ballpark that of most people of the number one answer, which is when my team kind of takes ownership, right? When my team like owns the problem, takes initiative. There's nothing that gets an owner of a business more excited. In part because it means we don't have to do it. And in part it shows that they care enough, right? It shows that they are invested enough in their work and the place. So I think that's such a great answer. Cool. Question number 4. This is about marketing, which we haven't talked about today, which is what's the most reliable strategy you have for generating leads? So if you have to go generate some leads tomorrow, where's the first place you turn?
New leads, I think, referrals are probably the best. But I also think, kind of related, is reactivating old clients is valuable.
Yep.
We track our terminations now, and most people it's because they moved away. But then there's always the people that, time, or they had a family emergency or whatever. So I think going back into those old client lists and reaching out to them with, like a human, and saying, how's it going? We've missed you. And I did this recently, and it worked really well. I said, hey, we've got this new training phase, German body composition coming up. Here's what it's all about. It'd be a perfect time to jump back in. And, some people just need a little prodding. And worst case scenario, you keep the lines of communication open with them, and that, you're still on good terms.
Yeah, that's a really great tip. And I love that you said, reach out to them like a human, right?
Yes.
Right. You don't have to be such a sales machine, calling them back with a very specific offer and all that. Those things are important. There should probably be an offer or call to action, but it's maybe most important to reach out and be like, how are you? I've missed you.
Yeah. I don't really like the reactivation thing as an automated campaign, because these people know you already. So I like to make it more personal and, not do a bulk email or anything like that. Just make it very, very personal.
Yeah, that's it. And I mean, your company's, how long is, you opened in 2009, is that right?
Yeah, so 12 and a half years.
Yeah. So, I mean, in 12 and a half years, I'm going to guess you have at least hundreds of past clients, if not thousands, right?
Yeah.
And so to so many businesses, especially if you've been around for a while, they forget about that bucket of people. And, as long as you're not burning bridges every time people leave, that's a giant pool of people that you can come back. So I'm so glad you answered that way, because I think it's a group of folks people forget about. Last one, question number 5. This is broad, so answer it however you like, which is, what is one thing you think gym owners can start doing better tomorrow? Something they can start just doing better tomorrow.
I think a lot of gym owners need to rethink the challenges that they throw out there. The 60, 90-day boot camp, whatever it is. I think a lot of it, depending on the gym, is kind of a money grab. They just want people getting through the door. But it's oftentimes based on weight loss. It's asking them to work out and eat in a way that they're not going to do forever. It's not taking into consideration behaviors. It's not letting them know that this is a long process. For some people, it's, let's just give up soda for a month. The rest of your diet can be shit. Let's just do that. And, and it's small, and it's not telling them to love themselves or celebrating their body for what it can do and not what it looks like. So I see these challenges all the time, and just, they get popular, but then people gain the weight back, are disappointed. It's harder to lose the second, third, fourth time, So I would say, rethink those challenges.
Yeah, I mean, well said, my friend. I mean, I wish we could just we'll take a snippet of the podcast of just that answer you gave and put it out all over the world, because I agree 100%.
Yes.
It's so important, and it's not that we can't have challenges, not we can have short-term things where people push themselves a little extra harder than they would have otherwise. It's just that, I think we're all doing our industry and humanity a disservice when we set the expectation that you can change the composition of your body in just a few weeks, and that's normal, and if you can't, it's not. And that everyone's goal is to change the composition of their body.
Yes.
Right? I mean, there's so much there that I think the industry is having. Maybe this word is too strong a word, but I feel like there's a little bit of a reckoning going on right now with kind of the concept of fat loss being front and center, with aesthetic goals being front and center, and they're moving to more of a sustainable approach, more of a long-term approach, and I'm all for it. I mean, even as someone who has run our Snatch in 6 Weeks program for over 10 years now, we've always talked about Snatch in 6 Weeks like a quick start program. Right? Even the first orientation they come to is like, this is not a quick fix. This is you can't do Snatch like the way you're going to live the rest of your life. And that's okay. What we're trying to do is, in a very short period of time, give you the confidence to be in the driver's seat of your own journey, give you the tools you need to either take a behavior change approach to nutrition, or learn to count your calories, or learn to work out in a way that's effective and kind to your body. And so we can have programs like 6-week programs that honor all of those things. And so anyway, we should do a separate podcast just all about this, maybe a round table, because I think there's so much to talk about there, but great answer. I love that so much. Cool. So to wrap things up, my friend, there's one thing I didn't get to ask you about, but I mean, we'll include this in the wrap up, is you also in the last, I think, year or so launched a supplement company, or part of a team that launched a supplement company. So just briefly tell us about what that is. Where can people learn more about it?
Yeah. We launched with one product. We're launching our second soon. It's called Cerus, CERUS Performance, and it's a health meets performance type product. It has all natural ingredients, helps with blood flow and breathing. So endurance athletes, kind of any sport that requires you to really breathe well, it's doing awesome.
Yeah.
But it's called Flow is our first product, and then we're launching a sleep product soon as well.
Amazing. What got you interested in getting involved in supplements?
Well, a friend of mine he's a former CrossFit Games athlete, and he works for a pharmaceutical company. He was putting these blends together, and I was using this product during my workouts, and it was incredible. And so my husband and I said, "Hey, let's do this." And it's been fun.
Good for
Learning a lot about the whole FDA, everything, and supply chain, and being an e-commerce site, totally different animal than a local gym.
Yeah, 100%. We'll include links down below where people can learn more about Flow and your upcoming product. And I'll have to have you back, and maybe the rest of your team, and talk about supplements. Because I know there's a lot of people that listen and watch the podcast who I'm sure are interested in that topic, either because they want to get into themselves or are already in it. And so it's a topic we have never covered before, because I don't know shit about supplements. But but it'd be fun to talk about, because I think there's people who would be interested. And where can people learn more about you, or follow you, or learn more about Vero Strength and Conditioning?
If you want to look at French Bulldogs, you can follow me. But if you want to know more about the gym, we are on Facebook and Instagram at Vero Strength, and our website is verostrength.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Wendy. I know we get to work together all the time, but we don't ever get to do this. So thanks for taking the time, for being so open about your business. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. It was my pleasure.
Hey friends, before you go, just one more thing. If you enjoy this podcast, you get value out of it, you enjoy listening, please share this podcast, comment below. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Please share it with friends and family. We don't spend any money on marketing or advertising. And so the only way people find out about this podcast is from you. So please do everything you can to share it with friends and fellow colleagues in the fitness industry. We love making it, and we want to keep doing it for a long, long time. So I appreciate your support. Go have a kick-ass day. Bye.